Could the reason your business isn't hitting its goals, it hasn't grown as big as you wanted it to grow, it's plateaued, you had a vision for it that was much bigger than what it is today, could that be because something is happening to you that's completely outside your control? By the end of this video, you'll know if you're fighting an unwinnable battle or if this is a problem that can be fixed. Imagine you're a street vendor in New York. You sell two things, umbrellas and sunglasses. Which one do you sell when it's raining? It's pretty obvious. Now, why do you do that? Well, you sell umbrellas when it's raining because it's so much easier to sell. There's a lot of demand and it's not hard to make a conversion. You could be the greatest umbrella salesperson in the entire world, but if for whatever reason it never rains again in New York, you're screwed. Nobody will ever know you were the greatest salesperson that ever lived. You will never get to prove your abilities. The market beats skill every time. Every single time. And that's very important to remember. The market is the top level thing that you've got to get right. If you're in the wrong market, and by market it could be geographic, it could be the type of people you serve, it could be the thing you're selling to a certain type of people in a certain area, it could be the country you're in, it could be because of economy, it could be all kinds of things. Market takes lots of different forms. It's not just you're serving this city in this state in this country. So let me give you some examples to try to make this real. So let's say you're in Dallas. In the Dallas market, which is a massive market, I only serve this teeny little spot in the Dallas market. In our business, we can be a single service business if we want to, and we can build a multi-million-dollar business. So I could be just pest control. I could be just lawn mowing. I could be just fertilization weed control. I could be just tree trimming. I could be just almost anything I want to be, and I can build a big multi-million-dollar business here. But in a lot of other markets, the market is too small. There are not enough buyers of any given service. And as a result, that means your business model has to be more of a one-stop shop kind of model. You have to offer multiple services to the very same client so that you can build a big business. That's a market constraint. And in that example, you have to craft a business model that matches that market. And in that example, if you want to offer a one service only business and you want to grow it to $7 million, you can't. And it's not because you're dumb. It's not because you don't know what you're doing. It's not because your business is broken. It's the market. Or take another one. Let's say you're in the pool business and you just focus on Phoenix, Arizona. And you really feel like you've started to saturate that area. And now you're facing a scenario where it's like, hey, to keep up the growth, we've got to spread out. So now since you're in Phoenix, you just start spreading out from the Phoenix area. And what happens is you start ending up in some neighborhoods where the income is lower than that core Phoenix market you are serving. So in any given neighborhood, now maybe there's 40 or 50% fewer buyers in any given neighborhood. Also, as you move out of the core market, the neighborhoods spread out. And as a result, now you're incurring more drive time. Your costs are going up. And so your non-billable time has gone up. Your time to get salespeople from the office in Phoenix all the way out to this area that you're serving in the suburbs of Phoenix has now increased. And you can go through lots and lots and lots of scenarios like that. Your costs have gone up. Your margins have come down. The business has started to deteriorate. You have to figure out how to deal with that. These are market examples. They require business model changes. Or maybe you are a pest and lawn service in your state, or better said, in your state, most companies that do pest and lawn do both. You've killed it in that market, and you've looked and said, where are other great, high-income, growing markets in the United States? I'm going to take my service offering there. You get to that state, and your take rate, meaning the number of people buying your service, your conversions comes way down. And you're like, what's wrong with us? Is it because we just don't have a brand yet here? Might be part of it. Or could there be another factor? In this example, a market factor might be in that area, people either buy pest or they buy lawn, and they buy it from two totally different companies. The state you were in, it was common for one company to deliver both of those services. This new market you've gone into, people don't buy that way. They think pest people are just pest, and they think lawn people are just lawn. And that causes you problems. Why? It's not because you're incompetent. It's not because you're dumb. It's not because you don't know what you're doing. It's a market force outside of your control that you've got to be aware of. Take COVID. What happened during COVID? Everybody stayed home. Everybody wanted to improve their home. People saved up money. They weren't spending as much money. So now they had all this disposable income. So several macro events happened at the same time. People had more money to spend, and now they were focused on their homes. Home spending went way up. Everybody's marketing worked wonderfully. Your business grew. You didn't even have to be good at marketing. And then what happened? At some point, it flipped. And everybody said, my marketing company's terrible. These guys are losers. They're not doing anything for me. They all blamed their marketing companies. But what was really happening? Largely a macro event. One macro event lifted the market. Another macro event brought down the market. Imagine you're in a vacation market. Massive demand. Lots of money. Everybody wants to pay to have all services performed for them. They're not even at their home half the time, so they have to pay for services to be performed. What's the bottleneck here? What's the market challenge here? It's not a market demand problem. It's not a demographic problem. It's not an area or geography problem. It's a labor problem. That market is so expensive that the individuals who perform the work can't afford to even live in the market. Or it's a transient market where they come in to ski, in a mountain example, and then they leave. Or if it's a water-based market, maybe they come in to surf and then they leave that market. And those very same people that are your labor are only your labor 6 months of the year. So you've got a different market constraint that has to be overcome. These market constraints are what limit businesses. And you have to first understand what is the market constraint that I'm dealing with to figure out if it can be fixed. Or maybe it can't be fixed. And if it can't be fixed, your only option is to relocate, change your service offering, change your business model, something of that sort. I'd caution you here, something to be really careful of is a lot of us, we blame the market way too fast. But what our real problem is, our messaging is poor, our reputation in the market is poor, our sales process is poor, we have all kinds of holes in our sales process, the positioning of our offer is poor. Before you assume it's a market problem and pivot, change your business model, move, change your service offering, I would encourage you to test very, very significantly. Try different things. Try to improve your messaging, your sales process, your positioning, all these other things before you just say, hey, it's a market problem, it's not me. And the things you look at are home values, the volume of competition, the size of the competitors, the income levels, the age of the people you're serving, the demand for the services you're selling. You look at all these things first. And if you look at them and say, hey, these people want this service, there are lots of buyers, they have the money, and there's tons of competition, like so much competition. I'm always talking about how much competition there is. And some of the competition is big. Well, that tells you almost everything you need to know. You're in the right market. The messaging, the positioning, your reputation, those are probably the problems. The other thing I'd caution you on is we're all paying attention to the news, and the news has led us to believe that everything is going bad. The economy is about to have a recession. The U.S. is heading in the wrong direction. We're eventually going to be a subpar country. China's going to beat us, and optimism is way down. And when optimism is down, you don't go for it. You don't invest in all the things you need to invest in inside your business to make you a great company so that you can dominate your market. And it becomes very easy because of pessimism, because we're not doing all the things we need to be doing to believe it's the market, when in fact it's not really a market problem. But I will tell you, you do need to be clear on, am I in the right market selling the right thing to the right people? That is the top level thing you must know if you want to end up with the business that you say you want to build. So what are some signs that you might be in the wrong market? Shrinking economy, whether it be a national economy or a local economy. It's shrinking. That doesn't mean you can't be successful. It just means there are winds blowing against you that makes it harder. That's all that means. It doesn't mean it's impossible. And that you got to be, as I'm talking, I do want you to be very careful with this. Just because something's not ideal doesn't mean it's impossible. What's another example of a not ideal, a wrong market? You're trying to serve the wrong demographic. You're selling a service to a group of people that don't have the income to buy it. You're selling a service to a group of people or a market, an area that's dominated by lots of people who are aging, and that aging group doesn't want to buy the thing that you have to sell. Or that group of aging individuals has seen their income come down. While they want that thing, they can no longer afford it. You're selling to a market that there's tremendous pessimism. We'll call this a macro issue. There's a recession. There's the belief that a recession is coming. There's massive consumer debt. People become pessimistic. They become scared. They tighten their purse strings. You're selling and the timing is off. You're selling the wrong service for the wrong time of year. You've been in business of a certain type for 10 or 20 years, and people aren't buying that service anymore. They don't want it as much as they used to. They used to really care about it. Now they don't care about it. Doesn't mean it doesn't work. It's just harder to sell. Take the newspaper. Used to be everybody had a newspaper. Now newspapers still work. It's just a much smaller market. And if you're still fighting to win in that space, there's a lot of, as I described, wins against you. That's a negative. You're in a market and the weather has been changing in that market. Used to get a lot of snow. Now it doesn't get a lot of snow, or whatever the scenario might be. Or there might be a cultural stigma. As an example, you want to sell house cleaning in an area where people are like, why would I buy house cleaning? We can do that ourselves. That's silly. We don't buy that service. Those are all examples of potentially being in the wrong market or trying to serve the wrong market. What makes a great market? Net immigration. People are coming to the market. Population growth. That market is growing. More and more people means more and more buyers. As the individuals moving to that market move up the ladder of income, they earn more and more money. They buy more and more services. Rising incomes, a booming real estate market. Companies are relocating from other places to your area. New jobs are being created. It all goes back to more money. The jobs that are being created are high income jobs versus low income jobs. That means there will be more disposable income. Optimism. I've mentioned this one a couple times. What's that? Optimism, consumer confidence. Our entire economy in the US runs on consumer spending. The more confident and optimistic people are, the more they'll spend money. Leads to strong spending habits. Industry trends. You're selling services that are somewhat future-proof, meaning they'll continue to be in demand. There's a growing demand for those services. You're moving away from services that people are no longer buying. There are even services that everybody says they want to buy them, yet they don't necessarily want to pay for them. An example I think of when I say this is everybody wants to be organic, everybody wants to be environmentally friendly, but sometimes when you go to sell these services, you'll find they say they want to do that, but they're not willing to spend the additional money that it takes to deliver that service. I've got to charge more to deliver that service. They're not willing to spend it. They say they want it, and there's a disconnect. That's another example of battling a market. Reality is you can't out-skill and you can't out-hustle a bad market. You can outperform your competitors. But if you're trying to sell a service in a market that nobody can afford it, yeah, you'll win as compared to your competitors because you'll be better at marketing, you'll be better at customer service, but you'll never build a big business. You'll never build a business that is highly profitable. You'll always underperform, not because of you, but because of the market you're serving. So what do you do in a case like this? Well, you have to pivot your offering to match the market. That would be one. You have to move to a better market. If you've listened to much of my content, this is the brutal truth that most of us don't want to hear, but in many cases, we need to move to a different city, to a different state, to a different area. We need to change our service offering to match the market that we're in, to sell to that market something they want to buy. You need to adapt your business to a model that will fit that environment. That's the idea. You can't control the weather, but you can control where you set up shop and what you sell. Don't waste years selling umbrellas in a drought.